to introduce somebody that I had never met before. She walked in the door for dinner tonight. But I called her about 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago, as the DRFCC when I realized that our District 5300 had been credited with $500,000 to the World Fund endowment. And so I called Pasadena Rotary Club, and they really didn't know much about it, except for the fact that George Cassett had been a longtime member and was always going to give. So I would like to introduce you to his daughter, Sarah Slaughter, to come up and say a few words about her father and his giving.
Okay, well, I will start by saying that I am not a public speaker. So, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Also, I am not a Rotarian. Please don't kick me out. I have a sister who is, so she's covered it for this generation. So anyway, I want to thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts and a few stories about Rotary, planned giving, and my father. As you've heard, my father is George Cassett. He passed away at 97 in 2020. I think he passed away more boredom than he did of any other reason. He really wanted to live to be 100, but didn't quite make it. Anyway, I have a little bit about me. I have worked in accounting my whole career and with nonprofits for the last 30 years. I have been asked to talk about planned giving, so I want to tell you that many times the largest philanthropic gift an individual will make is through their estate. However, rarely do people become philanthropic for the first time at the end of their lives. So everything you've heard in the last little bit about giving and a dollar is important, and of course a large amount is important as well, is very true. From my understanding, the Paul Harris Society allows Rotarians to give what they can, when they can, and still make a difference. That's a pretty cool opportunity that you all have. And Mark contacted me. He asked me to talk about my dad. He was a lifetime Rotarian. I talked to my sister this afternoon as I was trying to come up with something to say, and we decided that he started as a Rotarian in Dubuque, Iowa, when he came back to Dubuque, his hometown, after the war and going to Harvard for his MBA, which would have put it at about 1943. Maybe a little older now. So he was a Rotarian for a very long time. We moved to Arcadia in '64, in which he then joined Pasadena's Rotary and went there until just a few years before his death. So he was very involved. He was a Paul Harris Society member, of course, and a level 4 donor, I believe. He was also the chair of the Pasadena Club's foundation for many years. I remember him letting me know when it was time for me to come up for a weekend. I was living in San Diego at that time. I was requested to come up for the weekend in order to do the annual giving report for the foundation. In many ways, he was a wonderful man, a wonderful stockbroker, but he wasn't very good in Excel. So hence I drove the 2 hours up there. One of the many things I remember about his commitment to Rotary was the fact that whenever he traveled, my mother loved to travel. He didn't always go with her, but sometimes he did. He would find the local Rotary Club. And one of the stories I remember the most was My children and I went to Churchill, Canada a while back, and we noticed a Rotarian club there. A little tiny building, probably not too many members. We mentioned it to him when we returned, and he and Mom had been there years before. I don't remember why he went to Churchill, but it's really not one of those destinations you stumble across. So, kind of wish he was around for me to ask him why he was there. Philanthropy comes very naturally in my family. For generations, my family has been the role models for not only the family, but also their friends. They were active in supporting their philanthropic passions during their lifetimes, as well as their estates. I would like to have you think about the fact that by doing that, you can see how your chosen nonprofits steward your gifts. And you yourself will have the opportunity to make adjustments as your passions may change. It is my assumption that you're attending this conference because you want to be part of the mission of Rotary International, maybe deepen that commitment. So for those of you, there were a lot of you that have already done this, but for those of you who are not already doing so, I would encourage you to consider including regular financial gifts to your commitment to Rotary. When it comes time for you to think about what you will leave behind, you will be better prepared to know which nonprofits you want to support for your estate. I want to thank you very much for your time.